If you live in the Philippines, you know that every day you will be tested. You will be tested with your patience, with your manhood, and simply situations where you have to decide if you want to go to jail or not. This story is from Helpful Sector. How do you choose your battles here? I generally like being in the Philippines, but I notice I end up in more conflicts than I'd like. I'll give you an example. We just moved into a new apartment, and the screen door locking mechanism sticks, which makes it difficult to enter into the apartment. I asked the broker, who represents the LL, to fix it. She sends a guy to fix it, and at the end sticks his hand out. I told him it's not my responsibility. Before getting the place, I insisted on checking with the PMO to make sure she was the actual owner because there are many scams out there which annoyed both the landlord and the broker, but I'm the one with more to lose, so I don't regret that at all. Whenever I hear phrases like, "It's a small thing, sir," to which I reply, "If it's a small thing, then you pay for it." My wife just stays quiet whenever I have a conflict and says she agrees with me, but I have the feeling that's not true in this case. On the one hand, I'm actually aware that foreigners get taken advantage of a lot here, so I need to protect myself. On the other hand, I want to be a good resident where I'm here as well. I know if I just simped out and gave them everything they asked for, they love me, but that's not acceptable to me either. So how do you guys walk that line between standing up for yourself but not being an annoying prick? Precisely. This is exactly what you will face every single day. Everything from small interaction from taxi drivers, restaurant, cafe, employees that pretend not to have change, or simply getting a small thing accomplished even though it's at the cost of your time or simply a few hundred pesos. Yes, a few hundred pesos might be $2 or $3 to you, but for them it's half day of wage. Can you really go around accepting everything, all the shit that is get thrown at you from these people? No, you cannot, and that is why it is important to make yourself aware of these types of situations. Mentally prepare yourself that you will be taken advantage of, or at least attempt to, on a regular basis, and you need to decide when is the time for you to stand up for your rights and simply, as a human being, to be respected, and when to fight back and say no and allow others to deal with it. Being nice in the Philippines as a foreigner does not end well for you. People will take advantage of you and actually respect you less. It's much better to be a complete dick, but and not really. Simply ignore people when you have to. Just stand firm and don't cause any problems, but don't give in to their BS requests or their style or way of life. Wise Galaxy Brain says, I limit my interactions with people here to be quite honest. I have a set of Filipino people who I am close to and who I understand down to a T who are in my life. I take the introvert route, and usually when people realize you are somewhat closed off, they leave you alone. As a foreigner, most Filipinos first see you as an entertainment for them in their day, then some start seeing the angle they can work on you. If you're closed off from the start, then it's neutral position where you are not being an asshole, nor you're doing a song and dance for them. If you have a spouse, you should delegate her to handle many of the daily transactions. It reduces headaches. By the way, I've learned to overlook a lot of small issues while being in the Philippines. Something like the locked issue, I probably would have tried to fix myself. Rather than interacting with a clueless individual, you have to pick your battles. Yes, this is it. You have to pick your battles. Busybody Visa says, I'm with you on verifying ownership. I always do that before I rent an apartment. If they get annoyed, that's too bad. It's your money, so you have the right to safeguard it. As for the screen door, I suspect there's more to it than that. Have you been bugging her for small things for a long time? If so, then the screen door may have just been the last straw. Anyway, those locking mechanisms are cheap and relatively easy to replace. You can get one from Shopee, and all you need is a screwdriver. Yes, and also to wait 1 week just to get the wrong item delivered to you. Don't forget that. He continues by saying, when I'm deciding whether to fight or take it in stride, I just ask myself if this is the hill I'm willing to die on. Verifying ownership prior to buying a condo is absolutely something I'm willing to die on. If they won't do it, then I wouldn't just walk, I'd run away. On the other hand, the PLDT installer asks for 50 for parking fee. Not so much. That's below my 500 peso arguing minimum. Yes, that's something small. 50 pesos is not the problem. The problem is somebody not doing what they're supposed to and being accountable for something that they agreed upon. People here are simply lazy. They don't care. They do not give a shit about you, your time, or your money. And there are some things you need to question. Of course, I don't mean to go throughout your entire day being argumentative, but you cannot allow people to take advantage of you and make you seem like a clown walking around as an ATM. Check your contract, says Rebuilder. Believe it or not, they feel as if the tenant is responsible for anything under a certain value. It'll be a line in your rental agreement that you skimmed over, not expecting to see such insane, ruthless stupidity. That's what the clown meant when they said, "It's a small thing, sir." It's basically, "You fix my house, sir," is what they want. They want you to pay everything, the cost of the materials and the services. This Hizzle says, my contract calls for me to pay for anything under 8,000 pesos. If something major goes out like the refrigerator or aircon or TV, it's not on me. If it's a maintenance item like plumbing or aircon service, then I pay it. It's important to understand that we are not in Kansas anymore, Toto, and some things just work differently here. You are not going to get a landlord to pop for replacing light bulbs or aircon filters like it's standard in the U.S. Most places in the U.S. have maintenance people or people living on a facility or apartment to take care of these types of things, but not in the Philippines. They want you to pay. They want you to organize and do everything for them. Lastly, due lengthiness says, in most cases, I allow my wife to deal with Filipino worker. I would probably lose my temper if I had to deal with this nonsense they try to pull on me every single day. Sometimes you see these happy-go-lucky vloggers trying to be everyone's best friend. I try to keep my distance. Usually, whenever a worker comes to my in-laws or my condo, I make myself scarce so they don't know or try to charge me and my wife foreign tax. Luckily, my wife is a tough cookie. It would suck if your wife is one of those who feels sorry for everyone and all the locals she sees. The best way to deal with looming battles is to avoid them when you can. Let your wife go on her own. This is a method I use to reduce my stress level. In most cases, I would have to agree, but oftentimes the wives are morons. They do not know how to handle any situation. They've never interacted, and they are much easier to get scammed than you would be because they've never experienced anything like it. They simply say yes to everyone and everything. The best comment from yesterday's video is from Goatman. Is there any 60-plus-year-old man who is delusional enough to think the young gal actually chooses him? That is crazy. The gal tries to tough it out, waiting on the will to be read. Yes, there are many delusional men out here because of all these vloggers lying to them, selling them paradise, sunshines, and butterflies, telling them age does not matter in the Philippines when in reality it's the size of your wallet that matters. There is no worst comment of the day. This is the catfish. How do you go from this to this? Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Don't be lazy. God bless.